This week, NASCAR slammed Hendrick Motorsports with the highest combined fine in series history for allegedly changing louvres that funnel air through the hoods of cars. Hendrick Motorsports is now taking its case to the public square to present its side of the story. So how will NASCAR officials handle this, and what happens next? Join us as we delve deeper into today's video. But before that, please subscribe to our channel and hit the like button for more whereabouts on NASCAR. As we already know that Hendrick's 4 teams each received severe penalties as a result of issues discovered on the team's cars before last weekend's race in Phoenix by NASCAR officials. During a Friday inspection, NASCAR discovered that the hood louvres on each of the team's cars had been modified. They let the teams practice but then confiscated the pieces for subsequent research. After the penalties were announced, each of the 4 Hendrick crew chiefs was fined $100,000 and suspended for 4 races, and each team was docked 100 points and 10 playoff points. The $400,000 fine is the highest in NASCAR history for a team. The previous record was held by Michael Waltrip Racing and its 3 vehicles, which were penalized $100,000 each in 2013 for tampering with the outcome of the Autumn Cup race at Richmond. NASCAR's Senior Vice President of Competition, Elton Sawyer, met with the media shortly after the penalties were released on Wednesday and stated that as they researched the parts, it was clear that they had been modified in an unapproved location, which resulted in the penalties. Sawyer stated, "This penalty is identical to what we endured last year with other competitors. Therefore, we felt that to keep the garage on a level playing field, the competition level where it needs to be. All of the discussion last year about this car, working with the owners on what the deterrent model should be, left us in a situation where we didn't feel like there was no other option but to issue a penalty." Later that day, the team announced that they will be filing an appeal, claiming that NASCAR took the parts 4 hours after the cars were first examined, with no previous notice. The reason for their appeal, according to their statement, was that the louvres delivered to teams through NASCAR's mandatory single-source supplier do not match the design submitted by the manufacturer and approved by NASCAR, and that recent equivalent penalties levied by NASCAR have been tied to infractions uncovered during a post-race inspection. Hendrick Motorsports President and General Manager Jeff Andrews and Vice President of Competition Chad Knaus met with the media on Friday at Atlanta Motor Speedway, the site of Sunday's NASCAR Cup Series race. Knaus stated that the team has not yet decided how their appeal argument will be presented, adding that, honestly, it's really sloppy right now. He stated that a lack of communication is a contributing factor to the problem. Knaus further explained, "When we started getting parts at the start of the 2023 season, we didn't have the parts that we believed we'd have. So there's been a lot of back and forth with NASCAR, the OEMs, and the teams about whether we can clean up the components or not clean up the parts. And it's changed every few weeks, to be honest. So it's been difficult for us to manage, and we'll just have to see what happens after we get through the appeal." Knaus further stated that the initial check that uncovered the parts was a volunteer inspection. He explained, "When you show up to the racetrack with that type of timetable, you have a mandatory safety and mandatory engine inspection. Everything beyond that is up to the teams. We usually chose to go ahead and submit the car for the voluntary inspection so that NASCAR can say, 'Hey, we don't like this,' or 'Maybe you need to change that,' or whatever it is. And that has been very much the normal cadence. I'm not sure how many teams go through voluntary inspections without being told, 'Hey, you need to come work on this a little bit before you show up tomorrow.' NASCAR issued no warning, according to the team. After the optional examination, officials took the louvres for 4 hours. Knaus stated that one of their problems is a lack of communication from NASCAR to the teams. As we move forward in the video, tell us in the comments what you think. Is lack of communication one of the major issues? Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click the bell button for more updates." But Knaus stated, "There has been a conversation. As I indicated, we submitted a product through the OEM to NASCAR, and then NASCAR chose the single-source provider for those components. Components haven't arrived in the manner that we expected for a handful of OEMs, as far as I know in the garage, and certainly not for all of the Chevy teams. Therefore, in early February, we began talking with them about those issues. So it was us through our aerodynamic department, our OEM, NASCAR, back to us, and back through our OEM. So there's been a significant quantity of dialogue. It's certainly perplexing. The timelines are strange, yet they exist." According to Knaus, all the team did was make the louvres fit the hood of their Chevrolet, and he had no idea what the problems could have been. There was a parity test. As you guys know, when we went to Phoenix Raceway, we moved to a new aerodynamic package. As they accomplished that, the OEM modified the louver, to get the airflow correct through there so that we could fit inside the aerodynamic box that NASCAR created when they went through the parity test, per NASCAR's guidance, so the OEM took care of it. We went to Phoenix with what would be termed the last aerodynamic package. The little spoiler, the underbody modifications, everything. All of this being the same thing in terms of how the cars were evaluated in order to pass the parity test. When NASCAR designed its new car, one of the elements was the cost reductions to the teams, which were made possible in large part by the use of single-sourced parts distributed to all teams. Knaus stated that the problem is with single-source parts over which they have little control. It's been difficult, he admitted. Hey, we've all jumped into bed together on this thing since we started this Gen 7 car, and I think that's something we've all taken pride in the garage. There's been a lot of give and take as we've attempted to learn how to race this car and work together. It's very disappointing to me that we're in this scenario right now, with a component that we've all agreed is incorrect, and we've all attempted to work together to get it rectified because we've done it with other parts. He believes the parts were faulty when they were provided to the crew because of communication concerns. He said, "I can tell you this, we've got a brand new set of these parts that NASCAR declared unlawful and unfit for us to race right now, that we can go get off the shelf right now." He also expressed confusion over the lack of communication on the Friday before Phoenix. When we originally went through technical inspection, we understood there was some attention to that area. Knaus explained, and that's what's really upsetting, to be quite honest, because we had plenty of time to get those items off the car if they felt like there was something wrong. I can guarantee you that if we had anticipated a 4-hour delay and suspected something was amiss, they would have been thrown away and burned with fuel so no one would ever see them. We had no clue we'd find ourselves in this situation, so once again, I'm quite disappointed that we're in this situation. Regarding the fines, loss of points, and suspensions of their crew chiefs, Knaus stated that none of the penalties stand out above the rest. He stated, "It's a terrible scenario, not only for us but for the entire business. That's what bothers me the most. It's unpleasant. We shouldn't be in this situation, and it's really bad that we are because it doesn't help anyone." Lastly, he stated that the overall picture of what he claims is happening stands out the most. We as a company, and as a garage, are holding each of these teams responsible for putting their car out there for inspection and performing at the level they need to. Knaus said, "The teams will be held accountable for this. Nobody is holding single-source providers accountable to the extent that they need to be in order to provide us with the parts we require. Now, that goes via NASCAR's distribution center and approval process to receive those parts, and we are not getting the appropriate ones. Now, let's wait and watch what happens after this issue is made public, and how NASCAR officials handle it." That's all we've got for today. We hope you enjoyed it. Tell us what you think of the video in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We hope to see you in the upcoming video.